Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 29th, 2013 Raleigh Board of Selectmen. Remind everybody tonight that this meeting is being audio taped and videotaped. I'll call the meeting to order. First on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and in the audience tonight is Steve Casiotis of the Planning Board and also Ken Ward, our distinguished inspector. So, would you two lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ken, Steve, thank you. Next on the agenda is Chairman's comments. I have none. I'll probably make those later on, and as we go into other subject matters tonight. It is approximately 4 minutes past the hour. It's between 7:05 and 7:15. We'll have citizen query, and we have several appointments tonight. At 7 o'clock, we have Jordan Ward.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in your appointments folder, I have a note. He won't be attending this evening.
He won't be attending.
He may not need to do this, so.
Excuse me?
He may not need to come before the board for his
right.
special program.
So 7:15, we have Ken Ward, who's here to present William Wend as alternate plumbing and gas inspector. At 7:30, planning board representatives to discuss the medical marijuana dispensaries. 7:45, police chief Robert Barker to discuss police station module building lease extension. At 8 o'clock, Water Board Commissioner Stuart Delzell Sr. to discuss a site visit at Pennachuck Water Service Corporation in Nashua, at Nashua Water Department. And with that, again, it is now 7:05 and a few seconds beyond, so we are now in citizen query. So if anybody has any questions, you can ask questions, but you won't get any answers. No, but we can listen to your questions, but we can't give any report. Okay? So, with that, we'll move along to general business. And we'll go to general business number 1. This is Raleigh Board of Selectmen from the Board of Assessors. Lift the hiring freeze for the administrative assistant position. The Board of Assessors today is writing the Board of Selectmen to ask that they lift the hiring freeze to allow us the ability to post and advertise the position administrative assistant, which recently became vacant within the assessor's office. Thank you for your assistance. So, with that,
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to general business number 2. Lift the hiring freeze at the library. Dear sirs, would like to request that the hiring freeze be lifted so that the Raleigh Public Library may hire one library page and one substitute library page. As you know, the library page, Brad Pyle, passed away suddenly a few months ago. Substitute library page, Nicole Rogers, has been covering his shifts for the summer, but has a conflict in the fall and will not be able to continue working Thursday evening shifts. Substitute library page, Owen Richard, has resigned for a job at summer camp and will start college in the fall. Having trained substitute pages available to fill when conflicts and illness arise helps the library function smoothly and stay on budget for optimal staff levels on duty. Thank you for consideration. Pamela Jacobson, Library Director.
Give me the motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, moving on to general business number 3. Approve and sign Assistant Town Administrator job description. I have been working with the Personnel Board on updating the job title and the Executive Secretary position in our office. The Personnel Board has recommended that the title be changed from Executive Secretary to Assistant Town Administrator. This job title changed to Assistant Town Administrator clearly reflects the responsibilities and self-directed work that the Executive Secretary is responsible for. Other town departments have assistants such as Assistant Town Clerk, Assistant Town Accountant, and Assistant Treasurer Collector. Additionally, we will now require a bachelor's degree in public or business administration for this position. The Board of Selectmen needs to vote to authorize the job description change, and the chairman needs to sign the signatory page.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, this was put together before, when we put together the change to positions with the personnel update before town meeting. So there's no money involved with this, the position, there's no grades involved, it's just a changing of the title along with the addition of the bachelor's degree, which, so we'll just look at authorize that change.
And, I agree wholeheartedly. When people come in and walk off the street, they should be, you're not talking to the secretary, you're just talking to the assistant town administrator.
Plus, we need a person to be in a position to, when our town administrator's out, vacation, sick, or whatever, someone here with the authority to make decisions.
Any other discussion from other board members?
I'll make a motion that we change the job title to Assistant Town Administrator.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 11 minutes past the hour. Continue on to general business number 4. Thank you letter from Saeed Abazara of ABC Self-Storage. To the Raleigh Board of Selectmen, dear Chairman Snow, on behalf of the owners and employees at ABZ Storage, I would like to thank the Board of Selectmen, department heads, and all the individual employees within the town of Raleigh for the professional way they conducted themselves in handling our situation that took place at Havel Street facility. It gives us great pleasure to be part of such an upstanding and caring community. Wish you all the best in all future endeavors. Sincerely, Saeed Abazara. Well, that's a very nice letter, and thank you, Mr. Abazara, for that letter. And we were talking about the situation that happened down at the storage facility a few weeks ago that was in the newspaper with that...
Drug lab.
A drug lab, yeah, basically a drug lab. So, and I also want to thank all the police officers that were involved and from all the different agencies. I was down there that day, and Dave was with me, and it was a highly professional job, wouldn't you say, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, we had the DEA people, the state people, state police, state chemical response teams. I mean, it was quite a
Hazmat and...
Yeah, it was quite a response. So it was well run and well directed, and it was one of those brutal hot days. So it was done very well.
And good detective work on part of the Raleigh
Right.
Police.
I assume it's pending court at this time for disposition.
Good job. Thank you again, Mr. Abazaro. Okay, moving on to general business number 5. Road opening permit application from National Grid to open 64 Pingree Farm Road for main and service work. Does everybody read over the
I'll give you the motion.
application? Does everything seem to be appropriate? It seems to be missing. So with that, do I have a motion for
I'll give you
road
the
opening?
motion.
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We all have to sign, gentlemen. Bob? Joe? Okay, moving on, we have about another minute, I think we can get this out of the way. Notice from Northeast Mosquito Control and Wetlands Management District regarding helicopter application of BTI to control mosquito larvae over coastal areas. Press release from aerial application to control mosquito larvae on coastal salt marshes. Northeast Massachusetts Mosquito Control and Wetlands Management District anticipates it may be necessary to conduct a helicopter application of biological larvicide, BTI, to control mosquito larvae over coastal salt marshes in Salisbury, Newburyport, Newbury, Ipswich, Raleigh during the daylight hours between July 23rd, 2013 and July 31st, 2013. The material to be applied is BTI. Is a natural bacterium found in soil and water. BTI is a very selective larvicide which is non-toxic to people as well as fish, birds, bees, and virtually all insect species. BTI only affects mosquito larvae and a few closely related aquatic insects in the fly family. BTI will be applied by helicopter flying low directly over salt marsh. Product name BTI is Vectobat 12AS, EPA Regulations 73.04938. Residents need not take any special precautions due to the safety of BTI, and because the application will occur directly over the salt marsh and not residential areas. For further information, contact Jack A. Carr, Director of Northeast Massachusetts Mosquito Control Wetlands Management District, 978-463-6630. And we will talk about, and when we get to new business number 1, something else about, we had we'll talk about West Nile virus. So, with that, it is 16 past the hour, and we will go back to our appointment schedule. At 7:15, Building Inspector Ken Ward to present William Wedd as alternate plumbing inspector. Bill, come on down. We reserve the seat for you up front here. Ken is recommending that Bill be appointed as the alternate plumbing inspector. Ken has interviewed him and he has had a query check. The selectmen need to determine the appointment. Email from Ken Ward. Dear members, I am requesting the appointment of alternate inspectors for Building Inspector Department. Please reappoint Sam Jocelyn as alternate building inspector and reappoint Fred Gallagher as the alternate electrical inspector. Their contact information is on file. I interviewed William Wedd, for the position of alternate plumbing inspector and is submitting his name for the position. I have attached his resume for your review. I respectfully request your appoint him as the alternate plumbing inspector. Respectfully, Ken Ward. Ken, I'll turn it over to you.
Excuse me. The previous plumbing and gas inspector highly recommended him, and also the current plumbing and gas inspector recommended him. And he has all the qualifications, and he applied.
That's the biggest one.
That's the big one right there. And he applied. Any questions from the board?
I'll make a motion, we appoint him for 3 years.
Okay.
Is that right, Ken? 3 years?
3 years?
I think we were doing the alternates for 1 year.
1 year? Okay.
Okay.
1 year.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Bill, welcome aboard. Okay.
This is Dave Peterson. Welcome. Nice to meet you. Bob Mary.
Nice to meet you.
Bob Snow.
Nice to meet you.
Barry. Jack Cocktail.
Ken, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice, thanks, Ken.
Thanks.
Ken.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Bob.
Take care, thank you.
Ken, welcome aboard, Bill. Thanks, Ken. Okay.
I'm flying through the agenda tonight.
Okay, that was short and sweet.
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to general business number 7. Letter from Fire Chief James Roderick regarding emergency management grant. Members of the board, the town of Raleigh has been approved to receive the 2030.00 from MEMA in the Department of Homeland Security to enhance the capabilities of the Raleigh Emergency Management Agency. With this grant award, REMA will be purchasing a SimCell training program and the Windows-based tablet for the communications trailer. With the SimCell purchase, REMA will have the ability to set up realistic training scenario to exercise the Emergency Operations Center, EOC, and the SimCell will also allow REMA the ability to train its members in the specific positions in the EOC during the town-wide emergency. With the Windows-based tablet, REMA will be able to replace a hand-me-down computer with a tablet that is compatible with software that is run by the emergency management as well as the fire department. In order to further process the paperwork, Chairman Snow of the Board of Selectmen needs to sign the document and also needs to have his signature notarized. I am asking that this request be placed on the agenda for the next Selectmen's meeting so that the paperwork can get to MEMA by the end of July. Are there any questions about the grant or paperwork?
Mr. Chairman, what I would ask, because we don't have a notary available this evening, that you have a vote to authorize you to sign, and then tomorrow we can have one of the notaries here in
Okay.
the office
Sounds good.
notarize it.
So I have a motion.
I'll give you the motion to authorize your signature, accept the grant.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If I can find the signature place. Here we go.
Yeah, so we don't want you
You're
to
not gonna
sign
sign
it.
Sign it until tomorrow.
If you
Don't
could
sign
just
it.
come back tomorrow, everybody had left this evening and we didn't have a notary available.
Okay.
So you need to come by tomorrow and sign it with the
All right,
notary.
ladies.
Amy will make arrangements. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks for stopping me, guys. I would have gone right in there and just signed it. Okay, new business. Number 1, Health Department news release of West Nile virus. Health Department news release on West Nile virus. Health Service Coordinator Frank Gianni has notified the Board of Selectmen that West Nile mosquito-borne virus has been detected in Raleigh. Chairman Snow will read the following from Frank. Hi, Debbie. On Friday, July 26th, the Health Department received results from last week's mosquito-borne virus testing from Massachusetts Department of Public Health. One isolated mosquito pool tested positive for West Nile virus in the Patmos Road area of the town. Epidemiologist from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health that I spoke to stated our risk level has not changed and remains low. The recommendation from the mosquito control, weather permitting, is to do a target truck spraying application this evening in the northeast coastal area, which will include northern portion of Route 1A to Newbury line, including the side streets going east. The application will continue on Central Street, across Glen Street, in addition to areas around Newbury border as time and weather allow. This recommendation incorporates the positive finding a week earlier in Newbury. Northeast Mosquito Control will continue to do barrier applications at all the ball field cemetery in common areas as needed through the season. The routine aerial larvicide application over the coastal salt marshes in Raleigh and surrounding towns has also been occurring throughout the season and will continue. If you have any questions, please contact the Board of Health office. Thanks, Frank. So with that, again, with the mosquito, with this notification, the West Nile virus, everybody just take precautions at night, as we always do, and wear long sleeve shirts. Limit your time outside, and we've posted it on the website, and we also have put it up on the cable television. So again,
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest that
Yes.
we have a letter from Health Services that gives us some precautions that people can
Sure.
take, so it might be helpful to read those.
Massachusetts Department of Public Health announced today that West Nile virus has been detected in the mosquito collected from Raleigh, Massachusetts. West Nile virus is most commonly transmitted to humans by the bite of a mosquito infected with the virus. West Nile virus can infect people of all ages. People over the age of 50 are at risk for severe infection. The Raleigh Board of Health will continue to work closely with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health Airborne Virus Surveillance Program in Northeast Massachusetts Mosquito Control on mosquito control and surveillance efforts. Targeted spray applications as weather conditions allow has begun and will continue as needed. The town will continue its current spraying policy in accordance with Northeast Massachusetts mosquito control. By taking a few common sense precautions, people can help protect themselves and loved ones. Avoid mosquito bites. Be aware of mosquito hours. The hours from dusk to dawn are peak biting times for mosquitoes. Consider rescheduling outdoor activities that occur during the evening or early morning. Otherwise, take extra care to use repellent and protective clothing. Clothing can help reduce mosquito bites, although it may be difficult to do when it's hot. Wearing long sleeve, long pants, and socks when outdoors will help keep mosquitoes away from your skin. Apply insecticide repellent when you go outdoors. Use a repellent with DEET. According to the instructions on the product label, DEET products should not be used on infants under 2 months of age and should be used in concentrations of 30% or less on older children. Oil of laminate eucalyptus should not be used on children under the age of 3. Further fine products are intended for use on items such as clothing, shoes, bed nets, camping gear, and should not be applied to the skin. Mosquito-proof your home. Drain standing water. Mosquitoes lay their eggs in standing water. Limit the number of places around your home for mosquitoes to breed by either draining or getting rid of items that hold water. Check rain gutters and drains. Empty any unused flower pots, wading pools, and change water in bird baths frequently. Install or repair screens. Mosquitoes like to come indoors. Keep them outside by having tightly fitting screens on all your windows and doors. Information about West Nile virus and reports of West Nile virus activity in Massachusetts can be found on the Massachusetts Department of Public Health website. It's http://www.mass.gov/dph/WNNV. So again, take precautions at this time of year. So we'll be giving updates, I would imagine, from now until the late fall. Okay. About another minute before we have our next appointment, which will be with planning board representatives. And if I keep talking, I'll talk right into the appointment. So I'll talk real slow. But in that, I'll ask Steve Casiotis and Cliff Pierce, representatives of the planning board to come forward, and by the time they get forward, it will probably be 7:30. If I can keep this going, and we'll get right into it. And amazingly, it's 7:30. Okay. Cliff, Steve, it's good to have you here tonight. I'm going to just read this. Okay, please, to the Board of Selectmen, this is from Katina O'Leary, Town Planner, and this is reference to marijuana dispensaries. Please be advised that the Planning Board discussed the subject of medical marijuana dispensaries at the July 17, 2013 Planning Board meeting. In particular, they discussed the fact that Raleigh's Zoning Review Committee is currently considering drafting a zoning proposal for fall 2013 town meeting to create 1-year moratorium on location of any registered medical marijuana dispensaries in Raleigh. As a result of this discussion, members directed the town planner to request the selectmen to set aside time at one of their upcoming meetings to discuss this subject with 2 representatives from the planning board, Cliff Pierce and Steve Cassiotis. With that, Cliff, Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, as the memo from Katrina indicates, this issue has been discussed by both the Zoning Review Committee and the Planning Board. And I think, and Bob Murray is a member of the ZRC, and I think the recommendation of the ZRC was to go ahead and propose a moratorium that would allow these facilities not to be established in the town of Raleigh for a 1-year period. Our reasons for doing that are because this law that legalizes medical marijuana in the state of Massachusetts, it's a brand new law. It raises some new issues. There's complicated issues, more complicated than you might think, or at least that I thought until I actually read the law. And the state has issued some regulations in draft form, so those regulations could be changed before they're finalized. So it's kind of a fluid situation, and other towns have done this, imposed 1-year moratoriums, and the Attorney General has held that it's legal to do so. So it seemed to us that it was a reasonable thing to do at the time. Put the issue off for a year, give everyone a chance to study the issue and figure out what Raleigh's response ought to be, and then propose a final rule on the issue, a final regulation, whatever that might be.
What are some of the complications?
Well, it's not just you might think it's just a dispensary, a place where people go to, like a pharmacy, where people go to buy marijuana, but actually this law authorizes the growth of marijuana, the production of it, so you could have a facility for that, for growing marijuana. It also authorizes products which are referred to as marijuana-infused products. These would be like the brownies that people saw in the 1960s. I don't know if you remember those. But different types of products that have marijuana that you eat and that have marijuana inside of them. And so it would be like a commercial kitchen, that sort of thing. Okay. And then there's the dispensary. And the other issue is where do we allow these things? Now, the Attorney General said that a town can't totally prohibit these facilities, but it can confine them to particular zones. So that would be, I think, the issue that we'll have to consider during the moratorium period.
Is there a prescription required for?
Yes. Yes. The state has a whole series of requirements that seem to be designed to make sure that this is a legitimate thing, that it's not abused. And I did note that there was, you need a prescription from your attending physician, and you got to prove that he or she is really your attending physician, and not just some doctor that you go to get the form filled out.
Now, the person who will dispense this, what are their qualifications?
I'm not sure. I
Okay.
don't know.
Is there a license involved? No. Do you know?
Yes, I believe so, from the state.
Well, it's going to be an interesting year, I would think, for you with the planning board trying to get this the
Well, I
regulation.
never expected to be dealing with issues like this. Let's put it that way.
No, I think if you told me 10 years ago that we would have medical marijuana dispensaries, I would
Right.
have said, really? Any questions from the board? Okay. Well, that's it. Anything else, Steve?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, no, you said it all. I think,
We're also working on a sign bylaw. While I'm here, I might as well, it seems to me it's worth mentioning.
Sure.
You may be aware that our existing sign bylaw has some serious problems, and the Board of Selectmen previously decided, and this was like a year or two ago, that maybe more, that because of those problems, the bylaw was essentially unenforceable. So we're taking a look at that and trying to figure out how those problems can be corrected and how some reasonable provisions can be put in place regulating signs. And if it all goes well, we would like to move forward on this at the fall town meeting.
Now, other towns around here, when it comes to the sign bylaw, their building inspector, Ken, you can tell me if I'm incorrect or correct, they just go around and they yank the signs because the way their sign bylaw is written in the other towns.
No, not every town.
Not every town? Okay.
No, but I've had, I have at least half a dozen signed bylaws from Newbury, West Newbury, Beverly, Salisbury, and they're all different. They all have some good points and some bad points.
Right.
But as far as I know, I only know a couple of building inspectors that go around ripping signs.
I've just heard of some towns around here that the building inspector has a pickup truck and he goes around and the back of the truck is just full of signs all
Yeah.
the time. So, but of course, I don't know what the sign bylaw is like.
Yeah, right. I mean, as Ken said, there's good provisions and bad provisions. We're trying to look at all the other towns and see if we can put all the good provisions together.
And you don't want to put somebody out of business. You
No,
wanna-
absolutely not.
Yeah, and we want to be fair and balanced here when it
Right.
comes to the placement of signs and
Right.
how they're used. But
Right.
then again, we don't want to, make the town look honky-tonk either.
Well, that's the ultimate goal.
I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with something that's uniform. Right now, we don't have anything. It's all helter-skelter, and people basically look at the bylaws and they're basically unenforceable as they're written.
Yeah.
And they just do what they want, and if they get caught, then they get caught. It's not a good situation.
Just to give you an example, our current bylaw exempts temporary signs without defining what a temporary sign is. Now, anything is temporary. It's a question of how temporary is it. So that's one of the problems in the existing bylaw that needs to be corrected. I mean, enforcement is always an issue, but we would just like to make the bylaw as objective and reasonable as possible and as clearly written as possible, so at least everyone knows what's allowed and what's not allowed.
I see a lot of contractors that go around and they'll place a sign in front of somebody's house, and I see nothing wrong with that.
No.
To advertise their business as they're doing.
But
Right.
for 2 years, there's one on Havel Street that's been there, an electrician sign that's been there for over 2 years.
So I mean, well, that's what we need to sift out.
Right, so for example, one of the draft provision authorizes contractor signs and real estate signs, but requires that the sign be removed a period of time after the house is sold or after the construction job is completed, which to me seems to be a reasonable provision, rather than, to keep it up there for 2 years or even permanently.
right.
But we're trying to be reasonable,
I had a painter put a sign on my lawn, and I said, no, you have to earn it first. Do the job, and if your job is good, I said, then you can put it there. Needless to say, the sign didn't go up.
What?
The sign didn't
It
go up
didn't go up.
at all. So, that's what realtors put, when they're selling, there's all kinds of signs. But I think they gotta earn the right to put it up there, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Bob,
Okay.
just one more point on the marijuana issue. I had a call from somebody and I didn't return the call, and he didn't call me back, thank God. But the way our bylaws are written right now, It depends on how you interpret, okay, but if you, what it's gonna be. But if it's interpreted as retail, such as a pharmacy, they dispense, then they're allowed in the central district and they're allowed in the retail district through a site plan approval from the planning board. That's it, not even a special permit.
Right.
So just, I think that's another reason why we were talking about
Moratorium.
Well, yeah,
advertising it to get the moratorium until we figured out what we were gonna do.
just going a step further, I mean, Ken is absolutely right, but, so for example, you could have one of these dispensaries right next to the Pine Grove School, because retail uses are allowed there. And because it's not a special permit, it's just site plan review, I mean, the town really couldn't have anything, much say, in the absence of a bylaw, we couldn't say much about it. So some towns that have these bylaws will have buffering requirements if they can't be within so many feet of a school or a church or something like that.
Yeah, this is all new territory to us, isn't it? So,
But see, if we can advertise it, Bob, then that starts the clock.
well, let's put it together and let's do it right. You know, I think, moratorium, let's do. Would the planning board vote the moratorium, or is?
Well, it's gonna be voted on by the Board of Selectmen, you have to refer it to the planning board. We hold a public hearing on it, and then it goes to town meeting and gets voted on. So you'll be getting a draft moratorium.
Moratorium draft first, then
Fairly
we'll
soon,
approve
I
it,
would think.
and then we can send it back to you.
Right.
Okay, that sounds good. Anything else?
No.
Anything else? Okay. Steve? Board members? Cliff, Steve, thanks for coming in
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you, good gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay. This is an interesting topic. Thank you. That's gonna be, we're gonna hear a lot more about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let's put a moratorium on it over a year to slow things down.
we'll understand it fully before we implement it. Good. Okay, yeah, about 3 minutes before we have the police chief comes in. Okay, so with that, let's move back to, recap Independence Day celebration. Okay, recap Independence Day celebration. This is new business number 2. This year's Independence Day celebration went off without a hitch. The saying came out and the children and grown-ups had a wonderful time. We had a great turnout in the parade and in all races on the common. We wouldn't be able to hold these types of events without the volunteers and members of the community. Chairman Snow is requesting the Board of Selectmen to vote to authorize him to send letters to the editor of the Daily News, Town Common, Ipswich Chronicle. Chairman Snow is requesting that the Board of Selectmen to vote to authorize him to send thank you letters to the following individuals in business who volunteered and contributed towards this event. Police Chief Robert Barker for providing police officer to guide the parade. Police Officer Dorothy Tobin for guiding the Children's Parade. Parks and Recreation Committee Chairman Tim Southall, Vice Chairman, for running the parade and games. Susan Elwell for helping in the food tent. Joan Peterson, judge for races. Ray Markowitz of KM Foods for donating the wonderful hot dogs. Shaw's of Ipswich, store manager Wayne Bryant for the donation of the rolls and condiments. Savage Food for donating ice and the use of the freezer for the slushies. Raleigh Council of Aging Director Marianne McGill helping in the food and providing the tents. John McGill for helping with the cleanup. Janet Morrissey in the Raleigh Community Media providing local access to the cable coverage. Nathan Hunter, Raleigh Community Media, videotaping on the local access channel. We have an unknown gentleman who assisted in judging the races. that we would like to thank. We don't know who he is, but we'd like to thank him. If you're watching tonight, please contact the Selectmen's office at 978-2372. We needed another judge, and we asked you to help us, and we want to thank you sincerely, but we don't know who you are. So please call in if you're watching tonight. Board of Selectmen needs to vote to accept the donation of $62 from Bob Snow for race prizes. So with that, gentlemen, can I have a motion to send letters out?
I'll make that motion. Send the letters
I'll
to the
second.
following.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And can we have a,
I'll make a motion that the board, we authorize, the Board of Selectmen needs to vote to accept the donation of $62 from Bob Snow for the race prizes.
I'll second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we, that the Board of Selectmen vote to authorize you to send thank you letters to the individuals as read with your presentation.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was a good day.
That was a great day,
Very,
it
very
really
good
is.
day.
Every year it gets better. Bob, I think you really like the music, didn't you?
The music list is very good, Bob. Really appreciate that music list. Absolutely.
Okay, we finished up general business, new business, and we'll move on to old business. But first, it is 7:45, and we'll go back to the appointments. Police Chief Barker.
It's me.
Come on down. I'll reserve a seat for you up front. Okay. 7:45, Police Chief Robert Barker discussed police station modular building lease extension. The lease of the modular building of the police department building expires on the 12th of August. We have a town meeting authorization to extend the agreement for an additional 4-year period. William Scottman has submitted a 3-year agreement extension and a 4-year agreement extension at the same rate. Chief Barker is recommending the 4-year extension because at this point we don't have any plans to build an addition or a station or a public safety building or anything. So with that, Chief, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, that pretty much sums it up. As you know, the lease is up. We have 3 options from William Scotsman. They will continue to rent it to us on a month-to-month basis, and they have guaranteed that the price won't go up as long as they still own it and all that. The other option is to extend a lease for either 3 years or 4 years. If we had something on the horizon, we were looking to build a project, we had money already, or we had a plan, I'd say maybe 3 years is enough, but realistically, it seems more appropriate to lock it up for 4, because we both know by the time you hire an architect and get the money for a study, and by the time you actually get the thing built, even if we were to start today, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 years, and this just gives us a little wiggle room. The price is the same as it's been for the last 4 years, $2,000 a month. I don't see any real downside to it.
How long have we been renting that?
2005. So we're on, we've been 8 years, and we'll be moving into 12 years.
Well, we had a trailer that predated the.
We had
modular.
one trailer before that, yeah.
Is there any point where we might be able to purchase?
I asked that, and they were not interested in selling it at this time.
Okay, so it still has value to them.
Apparently, probably more value to them as a continued
As a continued lease, yes.
than it is, because if they bought it back, or if we bought it from them, how much could it really be worth? It was worth $75,000 last time. So
We have a problem if we buy it. If we buy it, then we have to maintain it.
right,
On a lease, it's much better to lease this facility than it is to buy it outright. Otherwise, as the conversations that you and I have had in the wintertime, over the past couple of winters, I remember one early in the morning that
yeah, it was
you
right
called
about
me,
midnight, wasn't it?
Yes, I think it was, and the roof had buckled, and it
Right.
was...
And 18
we had
inches
to
of
get
snow on there.
18 inches of snow, we had to shovel it very quickly.
Yeah.
And that was an excited phone call, I think, if we could put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, well, when you have to put half of your police station out of service, it gets,
So, right now, there's nothing on the horizon, we have nothing planned.
whereas the economy's been so bad
Yeah.
in the past several years that no one's really thought to come forward and say, we really need to address this. Maybe in the future, the things are starting to turn around a little bit, maybe we could revisit it. Certainly the modular section was never intended to be a permanent structure. There are several drawbacks to it, and when we put it in there, we put it in as a temporary structure, so the foundation we put under there is temporary. It's, we dug it out, we filled it with crushed stone, but that's only going to last so long, and as last time you were in, you probably noticed, the sections are starting to become unlevel.
It reminds me when I was in the Marine Corps, we used to have all these buildings we called TC, Temporary Construction
Right.
Building, Temporary Construction 10. Well, they had been there since World War II when I was there.
Exactly, and I'm the last person to complain. It gives us the space that we need. It's habitable, no problem. But it's not intended to be a permanent structure, and the town is paying quite a bit more than it needs to for utilities, because everything out there is electric. I can tell you right now, my last month's electric bill was $2,500. That's a lot of money for electricity.
Yeah.
And there are several reasons for that. They're built in 4 long sections, and the lights all work on 2 switches for the whole section, all 4 of them, and then there's each of the 4 sections has its own heating and cooling, all electric, 400 amp service.
A lot of air conditioning.
A lot of heat in the wintertime too. It's not as bad as it could have been because we had the foresight at the time to spec insulation, but we're not talking 6 or 12 inches of insulation. We got 4 in the walls and maybe another 4 to 6 in the ceiling, but at least that's helping. But it's a big difference between the middle of the summer, the middle of the winter, and sometime around April is a sweet spot when the electric bill slows down to about $700 or $800.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could we ask the chief to put together a plan for a permanent replacement? In other words, I'm in favor of a 4-year, like I think we all are, renewal, but I think at this point in time, we spent 8 years at $30,000, and I think the first couple of years were more than 30. So we
I think the
spent,
first 4
you know,
were 32.
we're up into multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars for
Yeah.
a temporary building.
Right.
Plus, when you add the utilities in, I think it's time for whether the taxpayers want to do that or not is one thing, but I think we really need to be starting to put together a plan for a permanent replacement, not for the whole station, but for
As
some
an
kind of an
addi- as an
addition
addition,
to replace
right.
what is currently there, and I've been disappointed in the lack of action on the fire station replacement building. And I think it's time to even look at, once again, putting a fire station of some sort up at that same location.
Well, yeah, the
I think
problem-
we need to look at these building structures. The weather's seems to be getting worse and more erratic, and these buildings are getting older and more outdated. And if we don't start making some plans, once again, whether the taxpayers vote to fund them or build them or not, I think we as a board have an obligation to let the
Present
taxpayers know
options.
what the replacement costs are and what a plan is, so that we're ahead of the game on this. And I think a 4-year extension along with a plan that the chief can get back to us, sooner rather than later on some kind of a plan, and then we can take a look at it and then decide whether we want to do something for the next town meeting or even if we do nothing, but at least we'll have some idea of what we're looking at, where we're going.
Well, one of the problems, we've all known is land. If, we would talk over the years of a public safety building, a separate fire station, a separate police station is even drifted around. And we need a big game plan.
Right. Well, my thoughts off the top of my head are we could probably expand the current police station in a direction that's already available to us by reworking some of the parking in other areas, and maybe if we located an addition in a different area, then once we get the new addition built, we could disconnect the other one and go from there, but, you know, I'd have to do a feasibility study of that, you know. I could probably check some areas, some of the area departments who have done additions and maybe talk to a couple architects.
Seems to me, Bob, we've done some planning in the past.
We've done a lot of planning.
And maybe we could make some use of those plans and suggestions and maybe try to work something out that might be a little bit more palatable to the community.
Yeah, I can check. Kevin Barry was, of course, chief at the time. He kept pretty good files, so I can dig back through the archives and see what he actually came up with. It's been a while since we've proposed anything. You might remember the last thing we proposed was a public safety building on that site.
Right.
We lost by 47 votes. For everybody listening, if we'd have built it then, we would have built it for $4 million,
right.
and we'd be halfway through paying for it by now, and we would have had enough space for both police and fire. But now we're looking at 3-4 times as much money just because the change in the economy. So
And we really need to look at a permanent replacement for this.
yeah, we
But
absolutely
the
do.
interest rates are low. So,
Well, that's good news, I guess.
yeah,
At least today.
at least today, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to stay low for a little while. But
Well, they're saying, I guess, you know, listening.
I think maybe we should take a look at those plans and see where we can, you know, the second look at the different time frame, we may be able to come up with something that'll work.
all right, I'll research that, see what I can find out. You know.
Okay, as to the lease,
I'll make a motion that we lease for 4 years.
Second?
I have a motion. I have a second. Any other discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good.
So Chairman, if you could just sign that 4-year.
I would like to make a motion that we ask the police chief to start looking at station, so it's something on the record. Station alternatives or permanent replacement of the modular building. Get back to us as ASAP as far as any information you come up with, so we can start looking at this in a timely manner.
Right, I'm not sure what I'll be able to get for estimates without.
No, I understand that. I'm just
Funding
looking
or
at,
anything.
in other words, what I'm really looking for, Chief, is if you to take a look at the situation of what you need, and I'm expecting you're gonna need some money
To do a study,
to really
yeah.
get something concrete beyond just a general concept.
Right.
And if we do have a fall town meeting, or at the latest, a spring town meeting, I'd like to have something, have us be in a position to say, okay, fine, we need X amount of money to move forward.
I could certainly come up with an estimate on how much we'd need to start looking at the project
Right.
professionally, and you know, maybe get some concept of what we could accomplish versus what we couldn't accomplish on site.
Plus, I think it's a good idea for, if we are gonna pursue this, to let the townspeople know, and we can start doing some selling of the project at the same time, so that it
Correct.
doesn't come as a surprise to people. And like I say, if they vote it down, it gets voted down, but at least we've done our job of presenting the information, putting it on the table.
The rental agreement would be, for the equipment identified, shall extend from 8/12/2013 through 8/12/2017, the extension term. So that would be the motion.
That would be the motion.
Yeah,
yes.
4 years.
So, someone give me that number one motion?
Is that
That's,
the one we already voted on? Just-
that's what we voted, but we should really, we need to
It's the
vote.
4-year extension.
The 4-year extension.
That is in the motion from Mr. Perry.
Okay.
That's what I made.
That was, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we voted that.
Just if you could sign that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second Dave's motion that we look and have the chief look into a.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Sign on the left side or right side?
Where it says the police department, town of Rowley.
All right, chief. Anything else?
Should do.
All right. Chief,
Thanks,
thanks for
Chief.
coming in.
Thank
Thanks a lot.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Chief, I'll be down to see you tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right.
You
I may have to
again?
take a cruiser to Haverhill, but just let me know in advance.
All right, sure. Okay. Thanks, Chief. Okay, we have about one more minute. I'll talk real slow so we get to that appointment. Okay, hi Stu. Come on up, Stu. Stu Dalzell from the Water Board, former selectman. Okay. Moved on to bigger and greater things. Okay, we have an 8 o'clock appointment with Water Board Commissioner Stuart Dalzell to discuss the visit to Pennachuck Water Service Corporation and Nashua Water Department. On July 18th, Water Commissioner Stuart Dalzell, Selectman Dave Peterson, and myself visited the Pennachuck Water Service Corporation in Merrimack, New Hampshire. We also visited the Nashua Water Department's water treatment plant and distribution facility. Attached are pictures of the facility. This site visit shows me that there are water service companies out there that can provide comprehensive water services that include water treatment, distribution, and customer service, billing, and collection services. We need to explore this further. I am calling for a motion to authorize Debbie to work at Town Council on the process so that we would need to follow if we should decide to pursue this further. So I'll wait after discussion for that last question I proposed. So with that, Stu, I'd like to start off the discussion. And Dave, probably the three of us would probably start this, of what we saw. So, Stu, you want to start?
We could go Thursday. Chairman Snow and Selectman Dave Peterson, Debbie, myself, into Nashua to basically to get educated on these private water systems. And we're all very impressed. There's a computer there. Here we are up in Nashua, the computers telling us what's going on in Salisbury. So, I swear they had no more people there than they used to have in the Raleigh Water Department. And it's a city of 30,000 people. And I just can't say enough good things about it. I could go on and on. Here we were told last winter that the water department needed a loader. They have a backhoe, but they needed a larger loader to clean out the lagoons. This system in Nashua has been online since '06. I asked the gentleman how often they clean the lagoon. They haven't cleaned it yet. When the matter dries out, he said it's just like coffee grounds. They're splitting up. The reason they can do it is better to be privatized. That computer can run many towns, and all their equipment's spread out over these different towns. It's not like Raleigh owning this and that. And the town of Salisbury, I've been over there twice. Tim Toomey went over there with me once to talk to Don Levesque, the DPW director over there. He's been more than helpful, and he has told me that any way he can help, he would be glad to. And they have $3,800 customers, I believe. And it's over 8,000 residents. And their water bills average $520 a year. And their budget's the same as Raleigh. But included in that, he explained to me, Mr. Lefected in Salisbury, there's a capital budget that you would die for it included in
Now, Stu, Salisbury has privatized their system, am I correct, 12 years ago?
that. Yes, and they have never looked back. He said Mr. Levesque over in Salisbury said it's the best thing they ever did.
Now, as I think we were told in Salisbury, when they have a plan to replace pipe or valves or anything like that, they come before the water commissioners over there. They propose, so many feet of pipe to be replaced, and then that is placed on the town meeting, and then the people vote on that portion of the engineering project, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
but with the capital budget over there, they have the funds.
It was a,
Takes about an hour. By the time the water enters the building with the, I'll call them tanks, open tops, to the time it exits, there's an hour, and it goes through many tanks.
it was like a 3-story building, wasn't it, Stu,
Yeah, it was
that we went
huge,
through?
Huge. I
The
never
water
saw
comes
so
in
much.
from the reservoir from the bottom and then goes down through the,
And they have the tank under the building, and they have the pond in the back, and then they have a large tank. And what the gentleman say in the tanks, about every 1,000,000 gallons,
yeah.
I believe they flush the filters. The tanks.
Well, that was a big facility we went through, and they're currently doing 16 to 18 million gallons of water a day that goes through that system. And at one time, they were pumping 26 million gallons of water through there.
I never saw so much concrete in my life in the tanks.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
That's
obviously a
huge.
lot bigger than our system would be, but it was impressive. And the other thing is they do handle all the billing for the town of Amesbury. So town of Amesbury has its own water workers, but they do all the billing, and the office stuff is handled through Pennachuck up in Nashua. So there's,
Now, that one that you were talking about for size, though, that was Nashua?
that's for the city of Nashua, plus
Okay.
a couple of the other communities there, but it's
Yeah.
just, and they have a 24-hour dispatch center, so, for instance, when Salisbury has, I believe it's 2 water workers, two water department employees, or they work for Pennachuck, but 2 employees are in town during the day. Now, at night, like what we do is we have an alarm system, and if something goes wrong, Pennachuck has this whole thing on computers, and they have a 24-hour dispatch center over there. So not only do the Salisbury technicians get notified if there's a water issue, but there is a person on duty 24 hours, 7 days a week at Pennachuck to call in for problems or deal with who has to come in or contact contractors or whatever. So they have really an instantaneous, much like a police or fire response in terms of any water issues that come up. So I think it's definitely worth our while to take a look at what the process would be if we wanted to do this. And once again, we're not saying we're going to jump into this, but I think if we could find out from town council or town administrator could do a little research for us to find out the legal process, and then obviously there's lots of issues and lots of discussion to be done, but it's certainly worth looking at. And like Stu said, Salisbury has been doing this for a number of years. Amesbury's been doing the billing part of it for a number of years, and they're both extremely satisfied with what they're getting. And
no, while we were there, the head of the treatment plant up in the control room showed us the SCADA system that they were monitoring Salisbury from the control room. So there was 2 technicians over in Salisbury, but still they were able to monitor, and even at night there's somebody up in the control room monitoring all the systems for all the different water districts that they control from there. It was very impressive. It's something I think we should explore.
Because the computer Salisbury was one color, I think it was blue, and another town was another color coded.
Oh,
It's just,
also, yep.
it's just one small part of it.
I think I wish we had these pictures in color and we could put them up on slides so everybody could see them. It was as we went through the facility, we went down into the pump rooms down below. And then they took us out to the operations facility, which, I used to run a fleet of trucks. I immediately went up to the trucks, and I popped down the door of one of the trucks, and I looked inside, because that's where I came from, the world I came from. And as I turned around, I turned to Dave, I said the same thing to you, Stu. I looked at the bays in the trucks. Everything was orderly. Everything, I looked at it, it was good operation. You can tell that they take a lot of pride in their vehicles. The way that everything was laid out in the vehicles, you could see by, the smallest of tapes and valves and everything was just perfect. So any other technician, and all the trucks were the same, laid out the same way. So it was a very professional operation, I thought.
The building was so clean, they swear it's as clean as a hospital, if not cleaner. And they have the buying power. The gentleman there tested meters. He said, see, these boxes were 240 meters. He said, we get a shipment in like that every 2 to 3 weeks. So
Oh.
they have the buying power and it pass on the savings.
Now, what we're talking about is not just the new water treatment plant. We're talking about running the water system.
The distribution system too.
They will do what we hire them to do.
Right.
They'll either do, like Amesbury just does the billing.
Okay.
They'll just do the billing, they'll just do the water pipes, they'll do just the treatment.
Whatever-
plant. Whatever
whatever
we
we-
decide
They
we
do
wanna let them do, or hire them to do,
They'll
is
do
what
as
they'll
little
do.
or as much as you want.
And we
Right.
also have a backup so that like when one of the employees in Salisbury, for instance, is on vacation or goes out on extended sick leave or injured or something, they backfill from Nashua to have another employee come down, so that it's,
How many systems do they run? Do you know?
well, they run a lot of Nashua is the biggest municipal
Right.
system, they got a couple other municipals up
Salisbury
there,
and-
but they also run a lot of private, pumping, they pump water for a lot of private developments up there that are non-public, so they do a combination of both, but
This particular company's been in business 160 years.
So I think, the way we set this up, we went, Dave, myself, and Stu went out. So I think the next time we look at another company, okay, other members of the board and other members of the commission also do that. And this is not, we're not buying into this, okay? We've looked at this, and I think from what has happened to, in the past year with our water department, okay, we've been through a really rocky road. I think we all can agree on that. And I think we need to look at a different driver for our water, okay? I don't know, maybe we stay the way we are, but we'll go out and take a look.
Right.
We went there for education purposes.
Yep.
Yes.
This may not be the only company
No.
that, we want to think about, but at least we want to investigate the process and see what we can do to get a system in.
And then next time, other members of the board go out.
Yep.
There's a few companies up there.
Very
But
good.
it was an eye-opener.
just an aside too, Mr. Chairman, that it is a union company. It's not a non-union company. It is a union company, so it's not a fly-by-night or anything like that. They have union employees, and the employees are for what they say anyway, they're very satisfied with
Well, I
the
think
company and the working conditions and so on and so forth.
we walked through their operations center, and I'm kind of used to working in that kind of environment. And by just walking through and listening to the employees and to the management, I mean,
Very low turnover.
yeah, very low turnover, and there was a lot of discussion going on between management and non-management, and talking about the day's work, because we were there in almost late afternoon when we left, so we could see the technicians coming in, and matter of fact, several of the technicians talked to us, and I was very impressed with the whole operation. Larry, you have a question?
Is Penachek, is that a, I assume is a for-profit corporation?
Nonprofit.
They're a nonprofit.
Yes, it was set up, they bought, as it was said to us, the town of Nashua.
Nonprofit, or?
I thought they said it was.
I think it's for profit, but basically what happened is the city of Nashua, New Hampshire got a bill through the legislature, and the city of Nashua, New Hampshire actually owns all the stock in Pennachuck Water. Now, how that works exactly, we don't know.
I thought
but-
he said a nonprofit, the way, we'll go back and.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but basically it's a stock company, and all the stock is owned by,
Corporation.
the what?
Who is the parent corporation?
I don't know offhand. We weren't up there for that. We were up there to look at how a private, whether it was actually non-profit or profit.
I thought it
What
was, I thought he
David
said,
is saying is that the parent corporation is the city of Nashua.
City of Nashua is controls.
they control it.
They are the stockholders.
Don't ask me how
No.
they got this through the legislature and everything else.
Well, it's New Hampshire.
And we're not saying, Larry, this is the company necessarily we'd go with, but this was just an example of what a private operation, and we were impressed. I don't know how many other companies are out there that do this.
And I think,
Right, but, it's
We have a lot of work to do if we're gonna
private,
go this
but
way.
owned by New Hampshire. So it's not necessarily a true private corporation.
Well, it's the stockholders of the, I don't know, it's a
Right.
crazy
Yeah,
setup, but, this is just an example of what we might want to do. And like I say, if we're really gonna do this, obviously it's gonna take some time and some real investigation, but that's why I say, I'd like to see us at least look at what kind of a process do we have to go through
this
to-
is the
to
first
look
of
at
many
this.
conversations here tonight, and I felt it was very important to engage the people, okay, who was sitting and watching this tonight, because this decision will not only be made, it's not gonna be made here at this table or at the commission, it's gonna be made with the people out there. So we want everybody on board to hear, as we go forward and we explore this, I want everybody in the town to understand where we're going, how we're doing this, if we do it, okay? But
Right.
again, I've said this before, we need complete transparency in whatever we do. What we went through up at 401 Central, we didn't have a good experience last year.
Right.
We need complete transparency. Things have changed in the commission, okay? We need to move forward. I want everybody in town to be part of this process. I want us at this table, and the people to get out there and start discussing with their neighbors and talking about this before we ever get into the town meeting. So this is an ongoing conversation, okay? And we're gonna look at other facilities besides this and other companies,
We're exploring the possibilities.
exploring the possibilities.
Mr. Chairman, I think we owe it to the townspeople to do this exploration. I'm not sure that we actually want to go this route at this point. I mean, like you folks have said,
a
it
major
sounds like
change.
it's a good operation. I know Salisbury, 8 years ago, had some really serious problems over there. And it seems that it's straightened out when they went with this company, this particular company. Whether we should go with this company, we need to look at that. We need to explore other options that might be out there. But I feel that we definitely owe the townspeople this investigation, to look at this. And particularly where we're building a $13 million treatment plant that's gonna have to be run also. And I've gotta be honest with you, the track record that we saw last year of running the water department is not something I wanna put in charge of that brand-new treatment plant. And that's my personal opinion.
If I could add to that too, that we do have some urgency because that treatment plant is coming online
Absolutely,
in next spring.
absolutely.
So we do have to get moving on this.
And again, as we went out and looked at this, we can do bits and pieces of our department. We can do the treatment plant, or we can do distribution, or we can do billing. We don't have to, to buy into the whole thing. We can do pieces. So again, let's explore it, let's talk about it. Again, you out there who, listen to us every Monday night, we need you engaged and to talk about this with your neighbors, and.
Give us
we
some
need
feedback.
Yeah, we need
Give us-
feedback.
Give us some feedback.
You know, that's important, you know.
Yep.
So if you're out there and you heard the discussion tonight, you want to send us a letter, email, please do. Send it to us. Be part of the conversation. Come in here and engage us on a Monday night. But we need, this conversation needs to be broad. It needs to, we need to explore every aspect, okay? And we promised you, this board promised you, and the new commissioner, the way it's set up, the water department, we've all promised you, we're gonna get this water department up and running, okay? We're gonna move forward from where we were. This is a new era. So,
Let there be no mistake that it's not the Board of Selectmen that's gonna do this. It's gonna be the townspeople
Yes.
that wanna do this.
The ratepayers.
The
Right.
ratepayers
Yes.
and the people in the community.
yes, sir. Can you identify yourself?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm George Comiskey. I'm with the Park River Clean Water Association. And so I saw the ad in the paper today, and privatization kind of throws off a red flag, because usually it's for-profit corporations, looking to sell water, and they look to straighten out the town's economic finances, but usually water conservation is a secondary concern. So I think you need to look at this as a watershed perspective too, because we're not like the Nashua River, which probably flows at 5,000 cubic feet per second. I think, in the summertime, you're lucky to get 10 cubic feet per second. So you need to look at what the drawdown is gonna be, an increased cost to your resource, because the more you pump out of your ground, the more iron and manganese, which is causing Raleigh problems, is gonna put stress on the new treatment plant that you are building. So look at that perspective too, because we have documentation that the Mill River and the Bachelor Brook ran dry in 2010, and so the Park River watershed involves the Mill, the Ox Pasture Brook, and Raleigh River, and so that we kind of encompass the whole watershed. But I hope you go forward looking at that perspective.
Again, we're gonna explore every avenue. We're not just gonna go, one place, or talk about privatization. We're gonna explore all aspects of this.
And we're looking also, we're looking at water conservation. We're not looking to, this company to come in and start selling our water
No.
somewhere else. I mean, we're talking about them coming in and actually, if we do it, running the system. And obviously, water conservation, and, I mean, it's a resource that we all know is in trouble. And it's important that we do look at conservation as part of the whole program. And the watershed district here is a critical factor in that.
We want the very best for the residents of this town
Yes.
at a reasonable cost.
Right,
So,
right.
And we are regulated by the state. It's who is to our withdrawal permit. It will only allow us a certain amount of withdrawal. So that all has to be balanced together, along with the operation of the department, whether it's we run it municipally or privately or however it works out.
DEP really enforces Water Management Act violations.
Oh, yes, yeah,
We
But this
found
is-
out,
sure did.
This is the type of information that we have to gather. That information is important in making the decision. It will affect it.
The other thing is, the citizens should also let the water board know what they think, not just the Board of Selectmen. I mean,
Yes.
the water board do control the water system, and I'm sure they're gonna have a huge say in what we do and where we go. And as part of the information we hope to obtain as to how, if we were interested in changing how we do that, the water board remains an integral part of what we do. And in Salisbury, there is a water board, and they determine rates and direct the.
Yeah, I think
The company,
there's
so
a
that's
certain aspect that needs to be under the town's control.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the water board side of it if you go private. Somebody that's a board of directors that makes the decision as to what the company does for us.
Yeah, I was reading up, I think you are correct in your assessments of, you can buy into certain types of privatization. I found that, it could involve just service and supplies, It could be just contracting water utility plant operation, or maintenance, so there's different types of privatization you can look at. Full privatization means they get all the assets, so, I mean,
Well, that's certainly not anywhere near where we're at this point. We don't know what's gonna happen to the assets. And that would be something we would wanna look at very, very closely. Because once those are gone, there's no going back. And I'm not sure I wanna be put in that corner at this point.
Again, we're gonna explore all avenues before we, jump into this, or if, we may not even jump into it.
And that's true, but I mean, I think what we need to do is look at the financial analysis, and, are we going to be able to run the department and save the ratepayers money and give them a reasonable cost for the product that they need, that they depend on, without that we don't survive.
Well, this board and the commission had a terrible experience last year, or what transpired.
Mhm.
And that's fresh in our minds, and it's fresh in the people's minds. And I don't know how many phone calls have I fielded, Debbie, at the house and here of irate customers, and they should be irate, for what transpired last year. So,
we wrote about it, and if you go to our website, we wrote about it in our newsletter, so. you can see what we have.
and I think this board has addressed that, and the commission has addressed that. We've set up safeguards, okay? But anyways, I think, as we move forward, again, we'll explore everything.
Just for an example, no way does the Raleigh Water Department need 7 trucks. Mr. Cook and I have been going to meetings for, over a year now, Jack? And I mentioned it earlier, they were talking about a loader. They have a backhoe, they don't need a large loader. So that'll do.
Well, I want to thank Jack for all your time you put in going to the meetings up there, Jack. And Dave, you've been going to
a couple.
a couple, okay? And this Wednesday night, there's a water board meeting at 7 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, I'm sorry. At this Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, there's a water board meeting. Now, it's videotaped, so it will start to show on Thursday, okay? So if anybody wants to attend out there wants to attend the water board meeting, Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, or if you want to watch, it will start to show probably sometime on
Thursday, Friday.
On Thursday, Friday, you'll
yeah.
start to see it. But please, watch these, I ask you to watch these meetings, but get engaged, and we need everybody to come to the table here. We need feedback, and we can continue exploring this. So with that, I'm calling for a motion to authorize Debbie to work with the town council on the process that we would need to follow if we should decide to pursue this further. So
To research the
research.
I'll make the motion.
Second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Stu, anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so tonight.
Okay, all right. Larry, you have anything?
Just give you one.
Sir, you have anything?
Okay.
Nothing. Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Board members? Oh, I'm sorry,
You
Stu.
need more input like that.
Just to give you a quick example, the meeting last week was talking about a $20,000 computer system. Now that, if you privatized, you would not need that. That would be a waste.
Mm-hmm. That gonna be discussed this Wednesday night?
It was put on hold.
Put on hold?
It could be discussed, it could be brought up this Wednesday.
Jackie, are you going Wednesday night? Do you can you? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, maybe I'll get out. Let me ask you, Stu, being involved down there and been a former commissioner down there, this 20,000, who's proposing this? One
Well,
of the commissioners, or do you guys have the money available in the budget for that?
Has to be the town meeting, I understand.
Okay, you'd have to go to town meeting in the
Correct,
fall.
Yeah, if this is, we're talking about how John and Laura were exploring various software programs to switch from, they currently use Peachtree, and then they use another customized data. There's a lot of different programs. So I've had during some of the budget meetings discussions on trying to sort of unite all these different software packages into maybe one user-friendly system. And there are two big ones out there, Munis and SoftWrite. So there was an exploration of seeing what's out there, but certainly that would require an appropriation, and you'd have to go out to bid and, issue an RFP and so on. So, I mean, this is, I thought, was in a very preliminary stage of just getting a sense of what's out there. They've been using the Peachtree, as I understand, for several years. I want to say more than 15 years, and that's really geared more to the private sector accounting system, and actually the town accountant doesn't even use Peachtree. So they were looking to get something that would be
More current. up-to-date.
more adaptable to a government, local government, and to utility. And so that's where I understand things stood. It was just to look at it and see if there's any interest internally.
One more plus.
Yes, Stu.
If the voters decided to privatize, town of Salisbury has 2 men there, and if Raleigh privatized and they had 2 men here, you had a bad water break or something, 2 could scoot over from Salisbury 15 minutes away or vice versa. That's a plus.
Yeah, it's almost a mutual aid type
Exactly.
situation.
Well, it's, I'm right 100% for going forward. And the big, we're just starting tonight, first stage. But I mean, looking what Salisbury's got and really sitting down with the Salisbury people over there and get involved, I think it's a big win situation, but it's up to the people of Raleigh
Sure.
to choose what it is. We gotta look at, what the money is, what we could save, we went through a bad year
Real bad
last year,
year.
the people of Raleigh.
Right.
I mean, really, I think like Stu says, we owe it to the people and Bob, to look at a system that maybe will work. Who knows,
This is the beginning of the big conversation.
right?
And I'm talking to you out there. We need you. We need you to be part of this conversation. So I'm speaking directly to you. We need feedback. We want you to be part of what's going on here, because this is your water system. So again, I ask you, read everything that's going on, anything that we say, anything that we bring forward. Watch the water board meetings. Be part of this conversation. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. But again, I thank you, for engaging, and all the phone calls that I've taken of all the irate people, I completely understand. And believe me, we at this table, nobody's more irate than what we went through, and you saw it all last year. So let's go forward from here. And again, let's have this big conversation on water.
Let there be no mistake, it'll be the residents of this town that will make the final decision.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
As a board of selectmen, we can sit here and we can look at it, we can investigate it, we can analyze it, and we can make a recommendation. And certainly we can vote, but
We
on my
present,
side, it's only one vote. We need the townspeople to be behind it and go forward. They will make the final decision. If they want to privatize, if that's the way it comes down, they will vote it. If they don't want to privatize, then we won't privatize.
That's right.
That's the bottom line.
we tell them the pros and cons, and it's up to the residents. the
Exactly.
voters.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Stu, thank you for coming in
Thank
tonight.
you, gentlemen.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Stu. Yeah. so-
Still good to see you.
Thank you, Stu.
Thank you. Keep the good work up, Stu.
That's right.
Keep going at it.
Thanks, Stu. Well, that was a good conversation tonight.
Right, something get started.
That's right. we'll have more of those in the future. Okay, let's get back to Old Town business. Old Town business. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, town restoration update. We received several inquiries into the cutting of the trees on the town common. We want to reassure the public that the new trees will be planted on the town common. At our last meeting, we voted to award the contract of the tree planting to NEDP LLC of Methuen. Last year, we appointed the Town Common Restoration Committee. This committee has been working on the details of the restoration project. In 2012, the April 30th special town meeting voted to authorize the restoration of the town common. I will read you the article and explanatory note that was approved by the town meeting of April 30th, 2012. Article 8, to see if the town will vote pursuant of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44B, to transfer and appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund Historic Resources and/or the Community Preservation Fund unreserved account the amount of $83,000 to be used by the Board of Selectmen for the costs associated with the restoration of the tree landscape circa 1814 on the Raleigh Town Common, shown as property on map 25, parcel 113, or take any other action relative thereto. The Community Preservation Committee has approved this article. The historic restoration and tree landscaping of the Raleigh Common project will include the design and execution of a tree planting plan that will restore the Raleigh Common to 1830-1960 era. The Board of Selectmen has established a committee composed of representatives from the town boards, committees, and community organization. The committee will direct this work from the start and completion before Raleigh's 375th anniversary celebration 2014. The work includes planting of Morton elms, disease-resistant, little leaf lindens, and London plane trees around the common. Some of these existing trees are in good condition and will be kept. Others are not and will be removed. The idea is to avoid monocultural, which has failed in the past. The work will include the removal of some trees and the replacement of the soil, in addition of the watering system and the planting of the new trees. Trees will be planted approximately 40 feet apart and 15 to 18 feet away from the roads to avoid salt damage. So, I received some inquiries about what has happened. I've been stopped several times in church, around town, what's happening to the town common. So I wanted to reassure everybody, again, that there is a committee in place. We're going to restore the common, the trees on the common, and I've had many inquiries. This is all on schedule. We are moving forward. We put it on the website. We put it on the cable television to let everybody know. So as you see, we cleaned up the common this past week, this last week, and we're moving the dead trees and the stumps. The stumps have been removed.
Yeah, they've all been removed.
And now we're going into the next phase, and the next phase will be the actual planting of the trees. And these aren't just little trees, these are mature trees that we planted on the common. And, reassure everybody. I've received even inquiries from people in Ipswich. They said, what has happened to your beautiful trees in the common? Well, I had to explain to them the disease that was in some of the trees. They needed to be replaced. I assure you that the Christmas lights will be on the trees come Christmas time, and I want to assure everybody in town that this is being addressed. So with that, Joe, do you have anything to add to this?
I am the new member of the Town Common Restoration Committee. We met 2 weeks ago, And unfortunately, the meeting was just before our meeting, so I didn't get a chance to talk to the members of the committee for very long. But the work is progressing. We're getting new water put in on the common that will take care of the trees so that they will be watered properly. But I don't have any.
I believe, Mr.
Specific.
Chairman, the size of the trees is people have a concern with, and rightfully so. I believe that the specs call for a minimum of 10-foot trees. So they won't be huge, but they will be substantial in size.
Yep. Again, we ask you, we have you in this conversation every week, so I ask you if you would take the word and spread the word out to people. Not everybody hears what happens here at night. I ask you to get that word out to, your neighbors, your friends, and let them know that we're, the project on the common is going forward. So with that,
And I know the committee's put in an awful lot
Yes.
of work. They've done a lot of work, and done a good job putting the whole project together. They really did.
yeah, I want to thank the committee. I mean, they came in, what was it, last year?
Yeah,
And
the
they presented
presentations in front of our
presentation
board.
Of the board, and, they laid the map out here, what the common was going to look like, what the new trees were. I can't say enough about the committee. Thank you so much. I apologize, if the word did not get out there, about the restoration on the common. Again, with public relations, we have it up on the website now, so as we move forward, reassure everyone that.
And the other
committee
thing too is
project's moving
that
forward. Yes, Jeff?
light department, highway department, and everyone worked together
Mm-hmm.
and got the trees, whatever, and they're all off. And I noticed the stumps the past week were all
Ground up.
ground
Right.
up. They did a very good job
Very.
working together, town departments. That's what it's about. I want to thank you for
Thank the members of the highway department,
highway and
and thank the
light
electric
department.
light department
members.
for what they've done.
Done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Did we make any decision on the backstop?
Backstop is not part of this project,
it's
so
not.
neither were any benches, but they may have surplus funds, obviously with the cost of the any DP contract being so low.
We don't play baseball there anymore. It'd be worthwhile
I-
getting just removing the backstop and
I'm not gonna go touch that.
I'm not sure we want to go that route at this point, Dave.
Okay.
I think what we need to do is get the trees planted.
Yeah.
Get that part of the project finished, and then take a step back and look at it and say, do we really want to replace that backstop? I mean, it's been there for a number of years. They've been playing baseball on that common since the late 1800s.
we just need to improve it. I mean, the fence
Well, I
is
agree with you,
bad.
and I think what we need to do is look at the article to see if there's any wiggle room in that article, if there's any funds left over. If not, we can go back to town meeting and get some transferred out of the common tree planting part of the project into
Right, okay.
restoring the benches that we would like to put there and restoring the backstop.
No, I'm just saying that if you, when I drive by the common right now, even with
It
the
really
trees
is-
down, it looks pretty good until you look at the backstop. And
I-
the backstop's in such
I have to agree with you,
disrepair.
Dave, I really have to
Is
agree
that
with you.
backstop, can I ask a question? Is that backstop, and probably more directed towards you, Bob?
I didn't do it, I don't care what they say.
Is that backstop historic in some sense, the way it is constructed?
I don't think so, Bob. I'm not sure. There aren't an awful lot of pictures with showing a backstop on the common. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously, there's been one there because they played baseball there for so many years. What happened was there was some recreational type people, and the little antique shop that's right there on Summer Street, at one point was a barber shop.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom the barber was there. And Tom used to cut people's hair, and looked out the windows and saw the kids over there playing baseball and so forth. He got together with several other members, people that are friends of his and things like that. And they actually put that backstop in there.
Okay.
As they went to the light department, we set the poles for them, they got the wood, they put up the fencing, the whole thing. So it was their design, because there wasn't an adequate backstop there at the time. And this was probably back in the late 60s, early 70s.
So that backstop has only been there since the 60s?
Late 50s, yeah, late 60s, early 70s.
Okay. So,
And we used to, and
other than that-
the Little League
That's
used to
40
play, the
that's
farm
40 years
teams used to
ago.
play ball there. We had, with, part of the, before we developed all the recreation fields in town, especially up behind the police station, the farm teams and the softballs, and they all played there.
Yes.
That was the only
And
field
then
they
once
had.
we developed the other fields, that eliminated the common as a usable ball field, so, you know, whether we wanna keep the backstop, all I'm saying is that, you know, it's like a project you do at your house, and you replace everything but the, but the floor, and then when you get everything brand new, and you look and say, wait a minute, we gotta replace the floor, because it just takes away from everything else. Like, in the process here, we just need to look at whether we keep it and just repair it and make it look good.
Well, this,
That's
I
fine with
wanted
me,
to
but
make
we
sure
need to
that
do
this
something
isn't
with it.
some historic design, the way this
No.
backstop. This is somebody's idea of a backstop.
Yes,
This would make it usable, make the field usable to play baseball.
yeah, that was their intent at the time.
Maybe we
Yeah.
can explore the idea of putting a different backstop, more modern-looking backstop.
Well, maybe we could ask the the Common Restoration Committee what they think. Would they think it would look better to either remove it, or look at removing it, or at least, look at the possibilities of improving its appearance?
Yeah, I
And
would,
how we do that will be, we can address, you know, maybe at a town meeting or whatever, but at
Right.
least maybe they should take a look at it and.
I would think
in
since
the realm of
the baseball is not allowed on the
No.
common anymore, so I don't think a backstop would be, I wouldn't replace it,
I'm not sure that is the actual case,
really,
Joe. I mean, I wouldn't make that statement.
because I thought they were,
When I was here as
Right.
selectman
Getting it
before,
out
we
to
went
a-
through that, we went round and round on this, and basically, there was complaints from people in the area, and
Right.
so there's no form, with the construction of all these other fields, we no longer needed that as a formal, not to say that somebody on the weekend doesn't go down and do a pickup game or something, that's fine. And if we want to do that, that's fine, it's just that, you know, maybe the committee can take a look at it and see what they recommend and get back to us, and then we can make a decision if we need to go for more money, or transfer some money, or whatever.
I'll bring that up at
But
the committee.
just so that it looks good come 2014 when we do.
No, I agree. I mean, there definitely should be something,
Yeah.
and there was
The
a
common looks
point.
good, I mean, the grass has come back big time, since we stopped playing ball there and everything, the grass has really come back, and
Yes, it has.
it looks good, the gazebo looks good, and things like that, so that it's really coming together, and just to make it look.
At one point in
Finished
time, there
off.
was some people that were interested in doing something with the backstop before the tree committee got going.
Right.
And they were, the last I knew about it, were going to talk to the Historic District Commission. Now, whether that conversation ever took place or not, I don't know. It doesn't appear that it has.
Well, a few years back, the light department did talk about if we wanted, they would be willing to put new poles in, and then there was, somebody was gonna donate, I think one of the fence companies was gonna donate some fence, but I mean, I just think maybe at this point, let the Town Common Restoration Committee take a
No, I
look at
agree
it and
with-
make
I
a
agree with
recommendation
you. I
to
mean,
us.
they obviously have.
And give the public a chance if they, you know, the public may wanna keep
Absolutely.
the backstop too, once again, get some feedback on what people feel the common should be.
And they have a landscape architect that's
Right.
doing the design, so we should use that,
Mhm.
get some input from them as to what they would suggest. I
Mhm.
agree.
Mhm.
Because if we're gonna move the trees all in from the street another 10 or 15 feet, there's really gonna be no ball playing there anyway. I mean,
Right.
not, other than, you know, play catch or, but I mean, in the old days, they used to play
We used to play league games there.
with league games and everything else there, so that,
Yeah,
Yeah,
the town team,
yeah.
yeah,
in the
I played
50s.
softball down there.
town team had a baseball team.
Yeah.
Used to take out a few of Frank Roberts's
That
windows.
was
Yep.
one of the.
That's way back.
At the
And
time
then
when I was
then
here
when
before,
Pine
that's one
Grove
of the
got
issues was
built, Dave, they went down there,
Right,
play baseball.
Before the
They used to-
gazebo wasn't there at that time either.
No,
that's true.
Right.
So, Joe, you take this
Yep.
and run with it, okay, and bring it towards the committee, and then come back to us and tell us what your recommendations are.
I will.
Does that sound good?
That
Yep.
sounds excellent.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Town administrator, town clock update. Deb, do you want to give us the update?
The bid deadline for the town clock restoration project is tomorrow. However, bidders were required to make an appointment to see the clock works and the location of where the clock will be placed. And we have received no responses to our invitation for bid. So even though the bids are due tomorrow, right now, any bid that came in would have to be rejected by the fact that they didn't meet that requirement to have this
Okay.
review of the clockworks. Having said that, I don't want to lose any time, so I'm looking for some authorization to continue working with Selectman Mary and maybe tweaking some of the language and the bid documents and getting it back to the Selectmen so we can reissue this fairly soon.
Need a motion?
Yes, please.
Did we look at the time when we did the church clock, or the town clock at the church, there was an issue about the clock up here was looked at by a company that's, I think the same company
Yeah,
that did
certainly.
that.
I have
On
that in the
Maine,
file.
wasn't
Did they?
Yes.
They didn't bid on it. I
They
sent
didn't-
them the
they didn't bid?
notice. I
Okay,
sent
that was my
several,
question.
several companies the notice, including Balzer in Maine.
Yeah.
You know,
They
this is
didn't
a
submit
unique-
nothing, Debbie?
No, this is unique. It's a restoration of a wooden works
Yes.
clock that was handmade by Alden Kent, who was, I heard, a local genius in the town of Rowley. So this is, these are not standard clockworks, and I think that's why the pool is, and, you know, I had
Right,
some
right.
specifications that required 5 years of experience with wooden works, and I don't think we're really gonna see that kind of experience threshold from the, you know, standard clockworks companies. So that's why I thought if I could sit down with Bob and we can try to loosen it up a little bit in areas without compromising any of the, you know, experience with these companies to take this valuable treasure of the town and, you know, not do it correctly would be.
So with that, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that Bob, Mary, and Debbie is requesting the authorization to work on rewriting the bid documents with Bob, Mary.
Thank you, Jack. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I will recuse myself.
Okay. Okay, minutes for January, June
right.
17th, 2013. Has everybody read them?
Yeah, I read
Yes.
them over.
Larry, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Have a good night. Everybody read them?
Yep.
Okay.
The other night.
Have a motion to accept the executive session for June 17th, 2013.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, July the 1st, 2013. Do I have has everybody read them?
Yeah,
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a
Second.
motion. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Executive session for July the 1st, 2013. Everybody read them?
Yep,
Yep.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second? Have a second?
Second, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I slipped that in quick, Jack.
Oh,
Okay. July 15th, 2013. Everybody read them?
Yep.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make
that
the,
motion.
I'll
I have a
second it.
motion. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Mr.
thank you.
Chairman, I just want to make it clear that on the June 17th executive session, that I did leave the meeting early,
Okay,
so I'm going to recuse myself from the second half of
Okay.
the meeting, just so that's a part of the record.
okay. Okay, announcements. Raleigh Food Pantry has needed donations. The food pantry is open Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. There's a drop-off basket at the library, and also you can, again, those hours of Tuesdays 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. or Thursdays 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. You can drop off at the parsonage right beside the Baptist Church, right here off Main Street. They're in need of everything, anything you can give, and this is especially at this time. A lot of people are away. The food pantry, there's people out there who are in need, who are needy and need a helping hand. So if you can, I'll please ask you to drop off either at the library, the drop-off basket, or at the parsonage. Thank you. Battery recycling box is out here in the hallway, and there's also one over at the annex. Having your double A's or C batteries or D's or whatever, instead of throwing them in the trash, they go in the landfill. They're full of heavy metals. This is a good way of being green. Throw them in I and a lot of the people around, they throw them in a plastic bag, then drop them right off out here in the hallway. It's a great way to get everybody in the family and get people green. Don't get those heavy metals in the landfills. Get rid of those batteries. We can take care of them for you. Thank you. The town has the following vacant seats: Conservation Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, 3 associate members, 3 open seats. We have 2 fence viewer positions that are open, and a wood lumber bark inspector. Okay, so if you're interested, get in touch with the board here. We are going into executive session. So with that, let me find my little piece of paper. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Make
on that one.
Okay.
The chairman needs to call for that first, if,
Okay.
with that declaration in there.
I'll call for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of a strategy with respect to collective bargaining, because an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town, and not to return to open session. Ask.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor with a roll call vote.
Jack Cook?
I, Joe Perry.
I, Robert Snow.
Aye.
Again, thank you very much for tuning in. We will reconvene in 2 weeks' time. So with that, enjoy the summer, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night, everyone.